in as the forensics weirdo.
I like
So
it.
you've got your moniker, I've got mine, right?
So how are you doing? I know you got in just a few minutes ago. It seems like you came like right off the plane. You're like, all right, let's do this. Let's get on the stage.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I haven't slept. So I took a red eye from San Francisco last night, presenting at the National Association of Corporate Directors last night.
I saw you had a post in San Fran. I'm like, is he gonna bail on me? I didn't know you were gonna take this.
I took a red eye,
That is commitment. I love
and
that.
the weather was so bad. It was like torrential rain, and the water was lapping up from the bay over the pier, and I was like, first of all, the event that I'm there for probably won't happen, and I won't catch my flight, and I won't get here on time. That would have been
the stars aligned. The world was like, Jerry and Kat need to hit the stage and talk about
That's right.
the universe, AI, and ChatGPT.
Yeah, let's start there.
All right. So you're just fresh coming in the show, but I think I've heard the word ChatGPT more than even on the panels where you and I have been talking about ChatGPT.
And we were like one of the first ones to start talking about it.
I know, because we're kind of cool like that, obviously.
We started a trend.
I mean, we are trendsetters.
It has nothing to do with OpenAI or Microsoft.
Nothing. Not at all.
Promoting it at all. But ChatGPT 4 just released with great fanfare last week, and same with Midjourney 5.
Which is interesting to me because that's going to integrate with, is that the one that integrated with Microsoft?
So ChatGPT 4 is integrating with Microsoft.
Right. Okay.
I don't think it's the version 4 that's integrating with Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Correct. Okay, that's
right. I think it's still 3.5, and that's like the chat assistant inside of your Word documents, PowerPoints, and Excel.
So super clippy.
Don't say that. It's not clippy. I think Microsoft would rather like forget clippy.
Okay, fine.
Well,
I'm excited about this though. It's also, I think, going to lead to crazy high velocity adoption. Technical difficulties, because it's just going to be accessible, and people aren't going to think about, am I going to go to ChatGPT? They're going to just say, hey, assistant, type in, move there.
And that's the key to adoption, is you make it easy for the end user, right? And if it's seamlessly integrated into products that they already use, they don't have to learn how to go to a separate website. They don't have to get a crypto wallet. They don't have to understand anything about blockchain. It's just there and helpful.
100%. And like, I think that's what Amazon's done so well, or Google's done so well. Super powerful AI, but you don't think, oh, I'm applying 18 different algorithms. You're like, I'm going to type this in with typos and they'll figure out what I'm saying.
No, it just makes your life better at the end of the day.
What do you think about, from a legal standpoint or an evidentiary standpoint, what we should be thinking about? Because even if people don't personally adopt ChatGPT, the fact that like my nephew, my mom, my dad, my grandpa, and my neighbor are all using it probably means all of our clients are using it, so we have to get prepared.
I think that we need a new category of evidence. So you've got the NIST list of machine generated data, and then you have this other category that we used to call user generated data. What's the AI part of that, especially if it's AI trained on user data? Is it a different category because it's not AI alone, but it's AI influenced by the user?
I almost wonder if it's like semi-structured data, so it's not unstructured, it's not human generated. I think it's going to call into question, using the concept of a document, it's going to call into question how we even structure and present evidence. It's going to be a crazy dynamic shift.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of metadata to inform the reviewer that this is neither machine-created data or user-generated, but some kind of synthesis between the two. And that's the new nomenclature, synthetic data.
Interesting.
Right. So I think that we're going to have, I think we'll collect it like we normally do, and Microsoft will flag it in some way, just like they flag, comments, or what they're calling modern comments now. Ooh. Have you heard of modern comments?
I haven't.
So there's modern attachments and there's also modern comments.
And terrible names for both, because it's not an attachment, it's a pointer, and the modern comment is?
Well, it's still a comment, but it's just in the cloud, and it's, that one's a little bit more clear cut.
That one makes sense. That's more like messy comment.
It comes along automatically, and if you use an E5 license, e-discovery premium export, you'll get the modern comments and the modern attachments automatically.
Okay.
So Microsoft does construe those as part of a family, and it will pull it even though it's a pointer to a different location.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with ChatGPT, but I imagine the GPT, content will also be flagged and pulled and very clearly demarcated.
It'll be interesting, I think, because I've run a couple like the AI generation like checkers and the plagiarism checkers. All I really have to do to fool it is like add the word, okay, I like that answer, but write it cheeky, and then it can't be recognized as AI generated. So
Is that all you needed to do, really? Okay. Because I know that it's algorithmic, right? So maybe that touch that you put in threw it off.
well, I think it's because they're looking for linguistic patterns.
Yeah.
And if you say cheeky, it's going to make a little irreverent statement, and it kind of
Right.
throws off the order of things.
But that's funny though, because you can actually prompt engineer ChatGPT to give you a cheeky attitude. You can set the tone. It doesn't always. Everyone complains about how dry it is, but you can actually tell it to be snarky. You can tell
I literally say, that sucked. Stop doing it. Bad ChatGPT. Be cheeky. I'm going to be beaten up by the robot overlords when they come. I know this.
Yes, they're going to come get you.
As they should. I feel like I've earned it.
But from a forensic perspective, related to what you asked earlier, I think we do need to think about the dark side.
Oh, 100%.
Right, of generative AI. And I think that when you're thinking about the dark side of it, you start bleeding into an area called deepfakes, right? That's not like questions about whether it's synthetically created at the aid of the user or what you might construe as plagiarism. It's deepfakes is generated AI used to imposter, is that a word? Imposter someone else?
Well,
impersonate someone else.
Well, and basically it's meant to, I think, deceive oftentimes.
Right.
And you had a really interesting post probably a couple of weeks now ago about how you have daughters, right?
Right.
And how you're giving them
sons.
Sons, sorry. But kids. Kids, sorry.
Yeah.
But so you're giving them advice on, if dad sends a video, call me or something, because it might not actually be dad.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that, well, because I'm a forensicator, I have to teach my kids about this type of stuff. And so, if they hear a voicemail from dad or their mother telling them to go meet us at the playground after school, and it's just unusual or suspicious or not our normal routine, they need to question it, number one. And then understand that it might be a deep fake and someone trying to trick them. But two, we've implemented a family code word.
That's so
that, and I'm not going to tell everyone what that code word is.
Obviously not.
But if we leave a voicemail, then they will know that if I say the code word, it's actually me. So it's like multi-factor authentication for a deep fake world. Your likeness, your voice, the way your body moves, all that stuff can be used to
They've made
trick
entire
people.
Commercials with famous actors that they're not using the actors, they're using deep fakes of them. So like the IP is getting kind of stolen.
Oh, it's so crazy.
And it's believable.
Oh yeah. It's so good now.
I also heard there was an innovation with, I don't remember which generative AI it was for images, but they can make fingers now that don't look like
Midjourney 5.
Midjourney. I was like, you know what? Somehow the not having weird fingers thing kind of creeps me out most of all.
Yeah, I mean, it's not those hot dog fingers from Everything Everywhere All at Once, that movie.
Which was deeply unsettling.
I think it was designed to be unsettling.
I mean, I loved it.
It won the Best Picture award.
As it should have.
Yeah.
As it should have.
That was awesome. But yeah, now they've got fingers, right? You don't have 6 elongated fingers now, right? They've got the right training data and enough human in the loop to correct those things in Midjourney 5.
Well, and so as you're talking with clients, like what guidance are you giving them around authentication and validation and evidentiary concerns? Because like that's your sweet spot, and there is so much just gray area.
Yeah, I work with enterprise clients. I normally take a insider threat approach. And so this is a little bit of external threat, outsider threat, where they need to be careful about deepfakes being created from their CEO or their CTO or their CFO, especially, right?
Exactly.
And they can, if you have any kind of online presence where your voice or your image is digitized, it doesn't take more than 3 minutes of your voice to be able to train the data, and it's text to voice. So you can create a whole script that will trick someone in the accounting department or someone in payroll to divert some of those funds.
And it's very believable. So you were here this morning. We had before the keynote that I introduced, we played a commercial, and our voiceover lady, we needed to change a few words. She was booked solid. So I actually did it using generative AI. So I'm all in on AI.
What?
So I used AI for the voiceover for our commercial. and no one would have guessed it.
No one
I
could
mean,
tell the
I had to
difference.
go in and tweak it. There were a few words. She was like, revile. I'm like, let's change the pronunciation.
Right.
It's reveal.
Right.
But like, it's,
Revile.
I was like,
That's not
wrong
good.
word. But it was, no one knew.
No, you can't tell. It's so good. And, the more data, the better. So while it needs 3 minutes at minimum, it's just going to do the basics, and it won't capture all of your idiosyncrasies,
Yep.
your tempo, your, I don't know, all the other things that make
It's
up
close
your
enough,
unique
though,
voice.
if you're not paying attention and like picking it apart, that it really is believable. It's believable
Yes.
enough.
Right, and that's where training comes into play. So if you sit on the board and you're trying to prioritize, the risk on certain upcoming emerging tech, is you have to create a program that elevates what you're perhaps already doing around phishing or business email compromise. The training needs to be elevated to the point where you can't trust your ears and you can't trust your eyes. And while nothing's been developed yet for multi-factor authentication, like I use the family keyword thing, but there will be tech, some kind of way to verify or authenticate that that's actually you. So, I mean, even if you have someone join your Zoom call or your Teams call, and it looks like the CEO, yes, it looks like your CEO telling you to go do something crazy, you got to question that, right?
Trust but verify, literally.
I mean, pick up the phone. That's the old-fashioned way of trust and verify.
The original, OG ephemeral message.
Yeah. And pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, did you really want me to shut down the Singapore office? Is that really what you wanted me to do?
That's crazy. I mean, I think it shows why it's so important to have like partners you can work with, because the speed of everything is evolving so quick.
It's so fast.
No organization is gonna be able to keep up with it. No individual on their own. Like you need a tribe of people that are like, hey, did you hear about you and I talk all the time about this stuff, or Cassie, like you need those people to help guide you, because otherwise it's like, oh my God, drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, and we're kind of like thinking creatively about these things that could happen, and it's kind of, titillating to think about, but you actually have to think about how you would handle that from an like you said, evidentiary standpoint. What's the workflow look like?
Mm-hmm.
How do you defend that in court, defend your opinion around whether it's authentic or genuine or inauthentic or fake.
And even if it's not a deep fake consideration, so say you're going to be doing a log of all the ChatGPT searches someone ran, like you would a Google search history.
Right.
Like there's a lot of different iterations, or what prompt they put in for Dolly or whatever the case may be. So you can kind of identify nefarious behavior based on what people are typing in.
And that's what I mean by user influence. Are you now responsible for the AI output because you had influenced it with your text prompt? Like how much culpability is there, especially if you're not QCing the output.
And sometimes I just write weird stuff in there to see what it'll say. I'm just like,
you're evil.
I'm also like, I'm curious.
You're trying to break it.
Not break it, but understand what parameters they put into place on what it will or won't talk about to mitigate bias or not cause World War III or whatever the case may be. It's kind of crazy, though.
Did you hear that ChatGPT, your chat history in ChatGPT has been hacked? Something went haywire, or someone hacked it, where you could see everyone else's search history, and people put all kinds of personal stuff in prompts,
which you really shouldn't do.
You should not do that.
Because
number one,
it's not private, and ChatGPT owns it.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
like
you can pay for the Chat Plus, and I haven't read the T's and C's on that.
I need to dig into that too, because I did pay for it, but I don't know what.
Because I don't get you ChatGPT 4 quickly.
Yeah.
You got to pay for Plus.
So I have that.
Yeah, it's $20 a month, but you can decide not to go for the second month.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, as always, this is a sprint, not a marathon, so we're getting towards the end, but a couple things I wanted to cover. So like I was saying before, you need a data Sherpa or a ChatGPT guru. If someone wants to talk with you or FTI about all these evidentiary concerns, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, you could start with me for sure, and it really depends on the use case. I'm very interested to see what actually happens out in the wild. Right now, we're just kind of talking theoretically, and haven't had these cases hit our doorstep yet.
I think they're going to happen soon.
Yeah.
Because you can't have this level of adoption without someone doing something that raises to the level of judicial scrutiny.
Yeah.
And some judge is going to want to be the test case.
Yeah, and I'm authenticating plenty of evidence nowadays because things aren't forensic anymore, and things are getting less and less forensic
Interesting.
because we're not actually imaging hard drives anymore.
True.
Right. So
All
if
the
you're talking
cloud,
about,
yeah.
it's all cloud, and so it's not forensic in that sense, and there's a need to authenticate even that evidence that comes out of M365 in a very, well, I wouldn't say consistent way, but it's relied upon by the enterprise. There's almost like a trust factor there because it is microcipher, but it's not forensic.
Which is
It's not
dangerous,
forensic.
you know, like
Yeah.
you should always trust but verify. Always
Always
verify.
trust and verify. I did want to. I think I cut you off. Were you going to ask me for the mic drop moment?
Not the mic drop moment. I want to know how people can get in touch with you.
Right. That's a yes.
Should they go to the Forensic Weirdo on TikTok?
There's no shortage of places to find me on social media, but LinkedIn is a good place to start.
Well, so for anyone live streaming, click the blue hyperlink of Jerry's name and follow him because he has very witty content and is brilliant. And now, because it is a sprint and not a marathon, we're at the 1 yard line. What do you want someone meeting you for the first time or just tuning in or curious about what we're talking about? What is the one takeaway you want them to have? What is your mic drop moment for this conversation?
Yeah, think about data. Data is like the centerpiece of everything we do, everything I do, and think about bad data. Think about data used for nefarious purposes, right? And so this is where hygiene is really important, but also training and education and peer exchange. And so sharing all the latest findings as it relates to the latest data. I just got named as the external expert to Interpol on their metaverse forensics program.
Awesome.
So that is that's the next thing that I'm working on is a framework for metaverse evidence.
Well, and that's some messy data types because you've got the chat, you've got biometrics, you've got blockchain, you've got NFTs, you've got all this stuff woven together in a rat's nest of chaos.
Yeah, and the rat's nest is in the real world, and now you're going to find counterparts of that rat's nest in the metaverse, right, in the virtual world. So we're going to come up with a framework and a methodology. Interpol has 130 plus member countries and enforcement agencies, and we're going to, at the latest by the end of the year, have some guidance.
Oh, that's very, very cool. I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
So if you have followed Jerry, you will see updates on it on LinkedIn once it's live. So, well, I think that's some pretty cool mic drop moments. I don't think I can top Interpol framework on metaverse, so I think I'm going to have to wrap it here. So, live from New York, from the greatest show in legal technology, this has been your friendly neighborhood TECHNOCAT and the Forensic Weirdo, my buddy, Jerry Bowie. Thank you so much. The mic is dropped.